Oh man. Welcome to another episode of Spencer Uncensored. I am Spencer Combs, and I believe that professional development always happens on the backside of personal development. Now, tonight, I typically would be wearing my official hat. However, I don't know about you. Maybe you can tell me, but would you wear a black hat with a blue shirt? I'm just not doing it. I can't do it, my man. I just can't do it. Let me put my phone. All right, so let's fix let me make sure I can see you guys. What's happening? All right, so let's get down to business. This is episode 74, which is pretty wild to think that we've been doing this for so long, and I'm excited because it's just going to keep on going. We're not going to really, I don't know that we were ever going to stop it. Actually, the intention is eventually turn it into, hey, Marietta, good to see you. The eventual, what we want to do is eventually just turn this into more of a podcast format and have interviews and that kind of thing. And I got a lot of people that know that I would love to be able to get on here and bring their information to you. But for now, we're just going to get on here and rant, rave, do the Spencer Uncensored thing for the next, 15 minutes or so. The most obvious thing I should be updating you guys tonight about is the book. Momentum and Mastery is currently in editing. So those of you that have gotten emails and conversations going, we're working on making sure we have a nice little book launch team. We're looking for about 100 people to make sure that they get the pre-order, not the pre-order, actually, the what's called ARC, the advanced reader copy. So you guys are going to get that copy so that you guys can look through the digital version of it and then give me some feedback and also give me an honest review. And that way we can then shift around, make sure we make some final edits. And then the expectation is probably we'll be able to get this thing into your hands for a live book launch in the first weekend of August. So that's where we're looking right now. So a little sneak peek in that conversation. We're also looking to make that particular weekend also a weekend that we do our first, it's not really our first event, but the first one like this where we're going to do 2.5 days of an immersion. And so we're going to have a book launch the same weekend that we're having an immersion event. And I'm firming up location and all that kind of stuff now. So before we go further with this, just wanted to give you that update. We're also getting ready to roll out a new course. And in addition to the course, a free webinar that's coming out. It's about 2 weeks from today, by the way, June the 25th. So keep an eye out on all the socials. It's going to be I can just go ahead and tell you, if you want to register for it now, you can go to unshakablesecrets.com. It should be live. We've been working on that for the last couple of days. Basically, I'm going to give you guys 3 secrets that help move businesses, help them level up regardless of the market. That's what we're doing around here. Which brings me around to the conversation of what are we doing? What am I doing here? What's going on, Spencer? Why are you writing Momentum and Mastery? Why are you talking about the unshakable framework all the time? Why are you so passionate about this whole thing? Well, it's not just because it's something I can get up and rant about and talk about and give people this, phenomenal pathway to help them create progress out of their distress, right? It's not just that. Being unshakable is an answer to a lot of problems we're having today. We really are, if you think about it. See, when you're an unshakable individual, right, a business leader who's unshakable, a business leader who's willing and able to move forward and make things happen, when you understand the drift to drive framework and you're clicking on all 4 cylinders with that, the core 4 factors for movement, right, and doing it with heart and energy and drive, and you're becoming a driver, right, that's part 2 of the book. Part 3 of the book is all the qualified champions framework, where it basically breaks down the 5 building blocks and then the mindset and mechanics of all those things. Why would I want to spend the time to break all this stuff down and then constantly be out here preaching this stuff? Well, I decided to ask old Chat GPT to give me some statistics. Now, the reason I had to ask Chat GPT is because I wanted a quick answer on a whole lot of statistics. But I think we all know this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like we know this stuff, we're feeling it, we're experiencing it every day. Did you know that currently about 21% of adults in the U.S. right now are experiencing or diagnosed with a mental illness, and that was in 2020. That equates to a little over 50 million Americans. On top of that, 55% of the adults with a mental illness do not receive treatment. And about 28% or so of those need treatment and they can't afford it. I think the mental health game is so fucked up anyway. I mean, the DSM. If you guys sat down, and this is a hot take right here. Somebody's going to be like, "Oh, they're going to have something to say about this." But let me tell you something. Uh, their opinions, and so they had to codify it for the insurance companies to be able to pay for your medication. But I'm not saying that there's no such thing as a mental disorder or a mental illness. We've all seen them, we've heard them. Maybe you're hearing this and you are diagnosed with one. I'm not telling you it's not there, right? Hey JD, good to see you. But the mental health system, really our medical system, our health system in the U.S. specifically, is so messed up. But when you look at the medical side of this conversation, um, or the mental health part of it, you go in, and if you get a cluster of diagnoses or things that are going on, then they can put it on a piece of paper, codify it, and diagnose you and give you some medication for it. It's a mess. We're not going to be able to handle that right here, but that's one of the things, right? Job satisfaction. Now, according to what I just pulled up and what you're probably hearing in the news, is there's actually some improvements here, right? But there's a lot of job related issues, and this is one that I was just telling my wife. I think this is where we're gonna see a big problem when it comes to the actual uh, economic problems we're gonna have. This level of inflation we've sustained is going to eventually create an issue with employment, because companies, to maintain profitability or even viability, are going to have to either they're going to have to raise prices, which that seems to be a big issue to be able to compete with other companies, or they're going to have to cut out their expenses. Absolutely, one of the biggest expenses that all businesses have is their manpower. So they're going to have to either lay people off and demand more from the ones they have, because they can't necessarily give them raises at the same pace that the inflation's going on. So we're going to end up with this thinning of the herd where the companies are concerned. And this is where, if you're a real estate agent listening to this, guys, keep having strong relationships with your prospects and your sphere of influence, because when these types of things happen, they're not going to be able to keep paying for their house. Spencer, why did you write Momentum and Mastery? Why are you telling people about these frameworks? Why is this so important to you? Because people are going to lose their jobs. People are currently drowning in debt. That was another thing I looked up. Where's it at? Here. Well, the national debt. I was looking for the credit card stuff. I don't have it in front of me, but I think most people realize that the debt load is ridiculous. And part of it's obvious. As Americans, we're just dumb. Like we'll go. I watched a video the other day. It was probably a Facebook reel or a TikTok, and they're walking around a dealership, a car dealership, and asking everybody that was working there, hey, what kind of car do you drive and what's your payment? And I was like blown away. Maybe because of I don't know. I mean, these people were just easily throwing out numbers like 1,200, 1,800 a month. I'm like, what? Like, what? That's ridiculous on a car payment, man. But people are still living their life, right? The flights and going to Disney World and doing all this stuff, and they're struggling. They're struggling to make ends meet. So not only are we having a struggle with the income coming in, we're also struggling with managing our own finances, which that's not really a new thing, is it? It's not. The problem is now it's getting squeezed. It's just going to keep getting squeezed. Why would somebody need momentum or mastery? Well, they need the momentum so they can stay focused on something long enough to get out of the mess. And they need the mastery for a specific pathway out of those situations. 39% of workers see their job as crucial to their identity, which means they're identifying, which that doesn't sound particularly ridiculous. However, concerns about pay and advancement opportunities remain. Right, so people are worried. They're just worried. You know, suicidal thoughts just shy of 5%, translating to 12.1 million individuals. Serious thoughts. The rate's even higher among multiracial adults at 11%. It's pretty wild, huh? Divorce rates. Did you know divorce rates actually came down a little bit recently? And why do you think that is? My personal opinion, I think it's one, because there's less people actually getting married. A lot of people just cohabiting, right? Why go through the whole? There's a whole push online for people. Why you use it? It's a construct. It's a social construct based on this and that, whatever. Man, shut up. Look, I get it. Okay, but there's a lot of people that are not getting married. So those, when they break up, it doesn't show up in the statistics of divorces, right? That's one. The other reason I honestly believe is because there's a lot of people that are staying together because of the finances. They couldn't do it on their own. And so they're feeling trapped in their marriage, even if it's a bad one. You need momentum and mastery. I'm gonna keep driving at this book. I'm telling you, you need it. That's why I'm so passionate about this stuff. Let's see, what else? Wealth distribution. I don't think it's a surprise that less than 0.1% of the households have 12.8% of the wealth in the U.S. That's pretty wild. Um, Homeowner trend. I wanted to know about this one because I think this goes along with it. The rate of home ownership has shown a downward trend exacerbated by financial constraints and rising home prices relative to income. Now, as of 2021, so this isn't even, I mean, that's like 3 years ago. 65% of households were owner occupied, down from previous years. So I bet that number has gotten worse. I bet that number's gotten worse. Here's something to think about. So I did a little homework. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in different cities across the United States. At the top is New York, okay? New York City. We're at $4,300 for a one-bedroom apartment. If I wanted to rent a one-bedroom apartment in San Diego, $2,400. One bedroom in Chicago, $2,400. One bedroom in Phoenix is actually only about $1,400, which that one a little surprises me, but I don't know. I've never been to Phoenix. I don't know the market that well. All right. Houston's $1,243 for a one bedroom. Now here's what I need you to understand. In a rental situation, they're expecting you to be able to make 3 times the rental amount per month, right? So for just basic math, if the rent's $2,000, they expect you to be making at least $6,000, meaning $72,000 a year. So most of these cities, right? This is for a one bedroom. By the way, one bedroom means you don't have any kids. It's either going to be you or you and your spouse, significant other, whatever, at most. But one bedroom apartments typically are just one person, right? So unless you're making, like in New York, at the high end of this conversation, you got to be at what, $13,000 a month in income to be able to afford a one bedroom apartment. Washington, D.C. is 2,700 a month, so almost 28 times 3. If you're not making 100 grand right now, you're probably not surviving very easily. If you want your way out of this, you're going to have to lock in on something much bigger. You're going to have bigger dreams than what you're seeing. If you want to out of all this kind of stuff, problems and challenges you see floating, just circulating around you, you're going to have to know what it is that moves you. You're going to need to understand what makes you frustrated, angry, and get into the dark side of the whole thing. You're going to need to be able to make some decisions and stick to them over a long period of time. That's how movement is done. That's why we talk about momentum. We want to teach you how to do that. You also will need to be able to understand your purpose. What am I focused on here? Right? What are my priorities? How do I step into my power? How do I work through this stuff? And then how do I perform at a high enough level to be able to get through the mess? What we need is more resilience. What we need is more strength. What we need is emotional mastery. Emotional mastery. We don't need any more of this damn. Oh, I'm going to leave it alone. We need emotional mastery. We need mental strength. We need the ability to focus. We need all these things. What we all need is more momentum in the forward direction and more mastery. So anyway, this has been Spencer Uncensored. I trust this was a little eye-opening. Might have stirred you up a little bit. If you're interested in getting in on our class that we got coming up on June the 25th, it's at 2 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Time, 11 o'clock Pacific. You can go to unshakablesecrets.com. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of pushing on that until next week, but if you wanted to go ahead and get in on that, you're most welcome. All right, friends, keep well, keep moving forward.